Chapter 121, Genuine. Rating game. Everyone was surprised as it was so sudden, but there was no hesitation in their eyes. Yes, all of his peerage members were ready. Or rather, they were excited to have a rating game. After all, unlike before, they had become stronger. With his archive magic, it was even easier for him to teach them as he only needed to directly transfer his knowledge into their brain. By then, what they needed to do was to practice and familiarize their bodies with the knowledge transferred by him. Still, before that, Riser looked at everyone solemnly. I know that it might be sudden, but you should know my conflict with Surzak, right? Hearing Riser mention Surzak without honorific, even though they knew the truth, they were still surprised. But hearing the story from Enai, Lee, and Zenovia, they knew everything was real. His coming to the human world, even though his purpose was to train Enai and Lee in the beginning, led one to another. Riser met various troubles, and each of the scales of the troubles was bigger, and the opponents he faced were even stronger. Yet, even so, he could still win. Even if he didn't win against Surzak, he didn't lose. Nevertheless, Surzak still gave Riser a chance. As long as Riser apologized, he would become an ultimate class devil, and they would be his servants. Yet, from how he talked, they could tell that he didn't seem to intend to apologize and kept fighting, which stunned them. On this conflict, I won't involve you, so if you don't want to get involved in my problem and quit as a part of my peerage members, then I won't stop you. I will respect your decision. Everyone fell in silence, but Zenovia was excited. After all, it was her chance to become part of Riser's peerage members. Her wish to become a devil had never changed, and she wished to be part of his peerage members, especially after he came to save her at that time. When the Lord she believed had died, and the church who had raised her also deceived her, she was alone. While she had an older sister-like figure in the church, she didn't want to trouble her, especially when she knew the truth about the death of the Lord. Knowing this truth, she knew that she was excommunicated by the church. In other words, it was impossible for her to return to the church. Moreover, she didn't wish to return to the church as she was sure they might KLL her to silence or send her on a dangerous mission, erasing her existence. While she might be a little stupid, she knew that her life in the church was already over. Unlike Irina, who didn't know the truth and also had good parents, Zenovia was an orphan. She might be the natural holder of the legendary Holy Sword of Durandal and Excalibur Destruction, but Valper Galilei had found the Holy Factor, which was a factor that grants anyone the ability to wield the Holy Swords. Zenovia's existence was replaceable. Moreover, she wasn't the most talented at using Durandal, as there was another monster in the church who was even stronger than her. Losing everything, and when she didn't know what to do, Riser came. The beginning of their meeting was quite funny. Even though their separation wasn't good due to the difference in their position, as she was an exorcist and he was a devil, there was no doubt that he became the existence that she could only trust in this world. Facing many legendary beings, if it was others, even the angels could only run away or ask for help, but Riser was different. He kept fighting even with his battered body. Moreover, he won. When she saw him that time, she had made up her mind to become a devil and wished to have his children, too. While her feeling was the decisive factor in her decision to dedicate everything to him, when she thought about their future children, she was also excited as there was no doubt their future children would be strong. This reason might be superficial, but as she was stupid, she saw the truth of the world. Power. Zenovia didn't want her children to have a hard life after all, and having a strong power meant that there was no need for them to be afraid of hardship. Moreover, she could trust Riser and believed he wouldn't mistreat her even if she could only be his lover. So, at this moment, she wished for one of his peerage members to leave and gave up. After all, his peerage members were full, and as long as they gave up, she would have a spot to be part of his peerage members. Even if she became his pawn, she didn't care since as long as she could be connected with him, no matter what its shape was, she would take it without hesitation. As for his enemy, Zenovia didn't care as she was an exorcist before, so facing vampires, devils, fallen angels, and other malevolent beings was like having lunch for her. It was something she did almost every day as she was an ace of the church. So, even if their enemy was the Four Mao, the true Lucifer, the Gregory, and many other famous figures in the myth, she didn't care. Her only wish was to stay by his side. However, no, I won't leave, Nya. I don't want to leave you, Riser-sama. No one wanted to leave. Zenobia looked at their reaction and sighed, feeling disappointed, but somehow, she also didn't feel surprised. Whether it was his queen, bishops, knights, rooks, or pawns, no one wanted to leave him. Are you sure? I will give you another chance. Riser asked once again as he waited for their response, but their answer was the same. No matter how many times you ask, the answer will be the same, Riser-sama. Yes, we won't leave you, Nya. We won't leave, Riser-sama. There was no way for them to leave. Even if Riser forced them, they definitely wouldn't leave him. Why? Because they knew that they had fallen for their master. In their hearts, no one could change his position. He was the only one for them. Even if he wanted to K*LL Surzek and make Surzek his enemy, they still wouldn't leave. If he died, then they would follow him without hesitation. While they were surprised by how he dared to K*LL Surzek. No, it already surprised them as the thought of fighting against Surzek even crossed his mind. After all, in the minds of the majority of the devils, Surzek Lucifer was like a god in the minds of the believers in the church. Surzeka's position was so high that they could only worship him. Yet, Riser dared to fight Surzek. Even K*ling him. Nevertheless, while they were in shock, they didn't feel afraid, especially when they knew no matter how difficult their situation was, Riser would protect them. Having such a man as their master and being their woman was definitely something that they wished to be. Among all the creatures in the universe, Riser was the only one and the best of the best in their minds. So, there was no way for them to give their position to anyone. Watching their determined expression, Riser knew that they might not help much, even if he had a fight with Surzek or other powerful creatures in the world. Or rather, their existence was meaningless for the fight as they wouldn't help him much, especially when their potential was SOSO. However, he didn't care about any of that. What he wished was someone that he could trust. And his peerage members were someone that he could trust. Thank you. Riser showed his genuine smile. I definitely won't let you down. Chapter 122. Be his strength. Riser stared at everyone who had made their decision and fell into silence for a moment. He suddenly thought of the original Riser. Even though the original Riser might be pictured as a bad guy, considering he was the first strong opponent that was faced by the protagonist, the truth was he wasn't bad at all. Even though many works pictured him as a SC** bag and evil, forcing cute girls and beautiful women into his peerage members, the truth wasn't like that at all. Instead, Riser had never forced anyone to become his peerage member. He asked them to become his peerage members, giving them some benefits. If they didn't want to, he wouldn't force them and just leave as he didn't lack anything in his life. Life in this world was hard. This was the case with Issei, who could only be a tool to fight all dangerous beings in the world. The others were in the same situation. While this world might appear like a happy harem comedy work, many living beings were living worse than social animals who worked 12 hours a day and 6 days a week. Those who were affiliated with the supernatural world also weren't an exception. With modernization, the life of supernatural beings wasn't as good as it seemed. The number of humans increased, and it made supernatural beings lose their homes, like an animal who lost their habitat due to the development of a human. Moreover, the supernatural world was a place where the strong ate the weak. It was a survival in the fittest world. The same case was with his peerage members. Except for their supernatural power, what could they rely upon? Did they want to live as criminals and hide in the sewer like a rat? Being invited into Riser's peerage members and living as his harem member was definitely better. The original Riser was handsome and talented, and his prowess on the bed was amazing as he was coming from the Phenex house. Moreover, he was rich enough to make all of them live a comfortable life. Then, what about him? There was no doubt he was even better. It might sound narcissistic, but as he had said before, having S*X mastery, command T, healthy body, and immorality turned him into the ultimate weapon to defeat a woman. Still, as they had decided to follow him, he needed to remind them. As you have decided not to leave and follow me, then you need to be prepared for this raiding game. Definitely isn't easy. Are you going to fight the Emperor, Riser-sama? The chainsaw user, asked with a joking tone, but her eyes were a little nervous. The rest was also the same as they waited for his answer. Riser shook his head. No, probably not. Hearing his answer, they sighed in relief, but Ravel asked, why can't our opponent be the Emperor, Oniai-sama? She wondered how he could be so sure, as she was convinced that Surzek would make trouble for them. It is because the Emperor, Dai-Hauser Belial, is part of the Great King faction. Riser was sure that his opponent in the raiding game definitely wasn't Dai-Hauser Belial, the Emperor, the #1 champion of the raiding game. There were many titles for Dai-Hauser, showing how strong he was and how he had been unbeatable for hundreds of years. There was no doubt Dai-Hauser's power was at Mao's level. While Dai-Hauser might not be as strong as Ajuka or Surzek, he was the closest existence to the two irrationally of the devil. Still, if he fought Serafal or Falbium Asmodeus, there might be a chance for him to win. However, there was no doubt it was impossible for Dai-Hauser to be Riser's opponent on his return to raiding game. Or rather, it was impossible for his opponents to be any players within the top 5. Why? It was because all the top 5 within the raiding game were part of the Great King faction. While there was a chance Surzek might ask the help of Dai-Hauser, the chance he wouldn't do it was higher, as if he did so, he would owe a favor to the leader of the Great King faction, Gremory. As the two factions were opposite of each other, and they were in a competitive relationship, having to owe a favor to Gremory was definitely a foolish move. While Riser knew that Surzek's way of thinking was weird, he knew that Surzek wasn't so stupid to make such a move, but at the same time, he also wouldn't be surprised if Surzek did so either. The world was fair. When one had a certain advantage, they would lose something. Surzek might be 10 times stronger than the original Lucifer, but his head wasn't good enough, especially when he was moving under his emotions. Nevertheless, even if Surzek's head wasn't good, he could still cause Riser trouble, and there was no doubt that he would target Riser on his return to the raiding game. Riser's purpose in participating in this raiding game, was to show his might to everyone in the underworld. When all of them saw his power, even if they tried to stop his promotion, it was impossible. If possible, he wished to have a weak opponent, showing everyone the difference in his power to everyone. However, he was sure that Surzek wouldn't let him and definitely would manipulate his game, giving him a strong opponent. The problem was, who was his opponent? There was no doubt that his opponents would be within the top 10 of the raiding game, as everyone in the top 10 was an ultimate class devil. Well, not all of them, but most of them were the ultimate class devil. His older brother, Riser Phenex, also happened to be within the top 10, but he was still a high-class devil, as his achievement wasn't enough to raise his rank. However, Riser's achievement was enough, as he had faced many legendary figures to protect the territories of the devils. The only reason why Surzek's cliques opposed his promotion was due to their doubt, as they hadn't seen his power. However, if he showed his power on this raiding game, it would be impossible for them to oppose his promotion, and his promotion would be a default. Riser thought for a moment and said, if I have to guess, it will be Rüdiger Rosenkreuz or Tannen. Rüdiger Rosenkreuz or Tannen. All of them murmured those names while Zenobia was confused. Who are they? Riser wasn't surprised by her confusion and explained. Rüdiger Rosenkreuz. While this figure might not be famous in the human world, he was famous in the underworld, as he was in the top 10 in the raiding game. With his ingenious strategy, mastery over the psychological of the opponents, and witty methods, he gained the title of upsetting sorcerer. Rüdiger might not be the most powerful, but his strategy, mind, and deep research on his opponents make him a powerful foe in the raiding game. Still, instead of Rüdiger, they were more worried about Tannen. While Rüdiger might be smart, all of them felt that Riser was smarter, especially when Riser had made various techniques, magic, and unique tricks. However, Tannen was different as he was one of the 5 Dragon Kings, which were unique dragons recognized for their strength and nobility. Their highly destructive powers rival those of ultimate-class devils or even the 4 Great Satans. Tannen was one of those 5 Dragon Kings. While there is a chance Rigider might be our enemy in the raiding game, I believe that Tannen will be our opponent. Especially when Syrzek wanted to see the fight between the Phoenix and the dragon during Riser's previous engagement with Rias. Syrzek's sick hobby definitely continued with Riser's return to a raiding game. Riser might be able to defeat Issei, the Epade dragon, but what about Tannen? Blaze Meteor Dragon. Would Riser be stronger than Tannen? After all, compared to Kokobeel, Valley, or Azazel, there was no doubt Tannen was stronger. Riser looked at everyone's expression, then asked, "Are you scared?" They wanted to say no, but they weren't sure. You don't need to worry. I have prepared several strategies, and I will make sure that we will win. As for Tannen, I will fight him alone to show everyone that way. No one can stop me from getting a promotion to the ultimate class devil. They were in a daze for a moment as they thought his figure was so dazzling. Yes, Riser-sama. A man with ambition. There was no doubt Riser was the most charming at this moment. Still, all of them felt quite envious of Enai, Lee, and Zenovia, who could see his fight against all the legendary beings with their own eyes, but then again, they believed those fights wouldn't be the last time they would see him fighting against those strong legendary beings. Due to that, they knew they needed to become stronger so they could become his strength. Chapter 123. My cute, tomboy exorcist. Ravel, can you help me with the raiding game? Yes, Oniai-sama. Leave it to me. Ravel was good at management, so it was better to leave the matter of setting up the game and the other issues to her. As for him, he needed to make some preparations for all his peerage members, making them stronger as he knew they were still far from reaching the satisfactory level he wished for. Still, those problems could be solved with weapons. Riser had gotten the researcher ability, and he could make a special weapon for them. Frankly, he knew that he had wasted a lot of time, especially when he had holed up in his hut for several days, but such a day was no longer, especially when there was something that he had to achieve. However, before that, Riser needed to do something. Zenovia, how about you follow me for a walk for a bit? Zenovia was surprised, but she nodded. As for the rest? They didn't think too much and only thought that Zenovia would become their sister. Moreover, even with their combinations, it was impossible to take him down, so more help was needed. Lastly, they had communicated with each other previously. Even though Zenovia was a former exorcist, she wasn't bad or even a little stupid. Either way, all of them believed that they would be abandoned by Riser. Moreover, compared to Zenovia, who was like a cute little gorilla, they also believed in their own charm. As for Ravel, she didn't overthink it. After all, no matter how many women he had, it was all the same. They were just places to release his pent-up desire. Even worse, the toilet. They were different from her and him, whose relationship transcended above all of them. Still, when she returned, she was going to monopolize him all the time. Yubaluna, Maihi, come with me. Yes, Ravel-sama. 2x. Meanwhile, Riser felt his body shudder for some reason. He turned his head and happened to catch Ravel's eyes. Her eyes were full of meaning as if she told him that she wouldn't let him go when she returned. Even if her eye color was dark blue, he felt like those eyes were like a bottomless sea, trying to drown him deep, unable to get out. While it might be strange of him to say this, he knew that Ravel had a dark obsession inside her heart. Frankly, the feeling of falling in love was normal, especially for a young woman her age. It was also the same case as Rias, who often tried to seduce him, but Ravel was different. Ravel didn't wish to make him fall for her. Instead, she wished to dominate him, making him think only of her and making him crazy about her. If Ravel was a male, there was no doubt it was creepy, but she was a female, so this obsession was unique and strange. Or, if he had to be cruel, then she was downright scary. Yet, like how she had decided to support him no matter how dark his future was. He would accept her no matter how twisted she was. Still, frankly, he was afraid that after last night, It was impossible to escape anymore, and he also didn't wish to escape from her. Was he a masochist? Was this the effect of his crisis ability? Yet, what could he do? The more beaten he was, the stronger he was. So, he might as well enjoy the feeling of pain and being chained. Yet, Ravel still underestimated him as she thought about chaining him down and conquering him. He had realized her intentions and let her play as she wished. That way, it was more fun. Riser Sama. Zenobia looked at Riser and felt confused as he fell into silence so suddenly. Riser made a strange movement with his legs in a subtle way so as not to be noticed, then apologized. By the way, I have to apologize to you since I have left you alone for several days. No, please don't blame yourselves. Zenobia shook her head. I know you were busy after all. With what had happened afterward, she knew he was extremely busy, which was normal, especially when he had done many crazy things. So, how was your stay? How did you feel about living in the underworld for the first time? Even though it was easy for the devil to go to the human world, it wasn't easy for the human to go to the underworld. No, it was almost impossible. Frankly, it wasn't allowed. But who was he? Even if someone knew that he had brought a human, no one would say anything as they would only think that Zenobia was a lover, a slave, or a pet that he picked up on the human world. Moreover, with his status, having one or two privileges was normal. It's a bit weird at first since the sky is purple, but the morning and night are similar, so I have gotten used to it after staying for a few days. You sure have a good adaptation. Even if it was a reincarnated devil, they might need time to adapt their lives to the underworld. Probably due to my job as an exorcist? I will need to adapt in every situation after all. I know that it might be too late to say this, but how do you feel? Are you okay to leave the church? Yes, I am okay. As they walked around the hill near his villa, she stared at his eyes firmly as she answered his question. Don't you have any regrets or anything? Truth to be told, I don't have much of a good memory of the church either. Zenobia was quite awkward as she told him her story. I am not good at socializing, and the people around me have always thought of me as rough. The only person I am close with is Irina, the stupid exorcist who came with me last time and also my legal guardian. Except that I don't have a close relationship with anyone. Yes, due to this, she realized how alone she was. Moreover, she also didn't wish to trouble them with her trouble. After all, she knew the truth of the death of the Lord. If she involved them with her problem, she couldn't imagine what the church would do. The best way for her was to leave, yet as they walked and walked, Riser never mentioned whether she wished to be a devil or to be part of his peerage members. Moreover, he also didn't mention anything about whether she would be his lover or not. Suddenly, she was frightened as she thought that he didn't wish for her. She didn't have someone she could rely on except for him. If he abandoned her, too, then what should she do? 100 meters away, there is a good and quiet spot. You can take your camping gear from your space storage and have fun with your cute, tomboy exorcist, telling her how the devil have their fun. You don't need to worry about being interrupted since you don't stay there for more than 6 hours. No one will come to search you too. It should be enough for you to take care of her. Riser fell in silence and thought that the system was as abhorrent as ever, but it seemed that he was also affected since he didn't hesitate to move in the direction that was pointed by the system. Still, as he wanted to know her better and how her life was in the church, it seemed she had a misunderstanding. Zenobia held his hand as she looked at him with red and tears-filled eyes. Riser Sama, do you not want me? Chapter 124, Equivalent Exchange. Why did you think so? Riser wondered how Zenobia's head jumped to such a conclusion. Because you didn't ask me to have S*X with you. Zenobia asked while crying. What? You don't need to lie. I know that compared to your peerage members, I am not that attractive, right? That's why you didn't invite me to be your peerage member, right? All of his peerage members were beautiful and cute. They had their own charm and had always cared for themselves well. However, what about her? Zenobia was nothing but a tomboy who only knew how to grow her muscles and swung a holy sword. How did he find her charming? If there was a reason why he helped her, then it was all due to pity. It was all because they were the same, as she also knew the history of the Phenex house. Due to Riser's words the last time he left the family restaurant after he treated her and Irina to food, Zenobia became curious about the Phenex on the demonology, and she read it on the Kuo library, finding out how the Phenex wished to return to heaven. Yet he was being deceived. Their fate was similar, and that was why he helped her. Yet, it was also due to this that she felt afraid of being abandoned. She wished to do something for him. However, what could she do? Instead, he was the one who had always helped him. Frankly, except for being the holder of Durandal and Excalibur destruction, she was nothing. When someone took those two holy swords from her, what did she have? It was only her body. Yet, could he find a charm on her body? Previously, she might have been proud of her body as she didn't have noticeable scars despite fighting many dangerous beings when she was in the church. However, despite that, he didn't seem to show much interest in her, and even if she knew how many troubles he encountered, she couldn't help but feel anxious. You still want to become a devil? Yes, Zenobia answered without hesitation as she wished to be one so that she could have a connection with him. However, I don't think that I am a suitable person as your master. No, you're the one who is more suitable. Even so, you should know that my peerage members are full now. Riser gently patted Zenovia's hair, calming her emotion down. Frankly, I plan to ask my wife to make you her peerage member. Your wife? Why? Do you think I am too weak to become your peerage member? As Zenobia had stayed in his villa, she also had seen all of his peerage members, and naturally, they were all strong. While some of them might not be as strong as her in terms of physical abilities, their tricks, varieties of spells, and battle intelligence were all above her. While she thought that she was stronger, they could crush her easily. Still, if Riser knew what Zenobia was thinking, he would say that wasn't it natural? After all, he trained his peerage members and gave them various information, strategies, and tricks with his archive magic, so if they couldn't become stronger, then wasn't his hard work in vain? No, it's because I want you to experience school. A school? His answer surprised her. You are at an age where you should go to school. Moreover, unlike you, who are human, my peerage members aren't human, or most of them are at the age where they have graduated from the school. Even Isle and Nell, the twin and chainsaw users, were much older than Zenobia. While their appearance might be quite deceiving and make people think of them as little girls, the truth was they were even older than him. Still, by becoming a devil, one could manipulate their age and appear as young or old as they wished. Nevertheless, unlike him and his peerage members, Zenobia was a human. He wished for her to enter the school, especially when he could tell that she had never entered one as she was busy spending her time as an exorcist all the time in the church. We, the devil, have a long age. When a human dies in their 50s, 60s, or so, we, the devil, will stay alive for 10,000 years or more. Our lives are almost unlimited. It won't be weird to say that we're immortal, so I hope that you can experience many things in your youth, including school. Or you don't want to go to school? No, I am okay with it. Then, later, when the time is right, I will ask my wife to make her into a peerage member. She is the student council president of the Co-Academy in the human world. When you become part of her peerage member, you will become a student in that school and also a student council president. You don't need to worry. She is kind, and I am sure you will enjoy your stay as a student there. Why? Zenobia couldn't help but feel confused and vexed. Why were you so kind to me? Riser had been so gentle at her, and he also had planned many things for her to make her life comfortable, yet was there something that she could do for him? The more he gave her, the more she felt vexed and hated herself since she felt that she could give him nothing. Did he just ask her to take care of his wife? Even though she knew that Sona might become her future master, she couldn't help but feel jealous of Sona. However, Riser couldn't help but laugh at Zenovia's naivety. Why did you laugh? Zenobia was a little embarrassed and confused since she felt that he had made fun of her. No, it's my first time hearing that someone thinks of me, who is a devil, as kind. Moreover, I heard those words from the former exorcist, the servant of the Lord. Riser smiled. How could I not laugh? He gently caressed her cheek and rubbed the green-colored fringe of her hair. The green color of the fringe was kind of charming, especially on her beautiful blue hair. I am a devil. I have always insisted on the principle of the equivalent exchange. I have given you something, so isn't it natural for me to wish you to pay me with something equal? But I don't have anything. What did she have? She didn't even have a penny on her hands. As a servant of God, it was impossible for her to expect money. After all, as the servant of God, it was natural that she was educated that excess wealth was bad for her upbringing due to following the principles of humility and poverty. Moreover, it might make her to have greed as part of her sin, so it was impossible for her to have more than enough money. Lastly, could her meager income be used to pay for what he had done to her? Naturally, it's impossible. I didn't ask for your money. Riser was speechless. Even if you spend so many years working, it is impossible for you to repay me. With her brain, he didn't expect her to be able to make a lot of money. Then, as she was confused, he told her how she would repay him, but then her eyes widened as her lips were taken by him. She blinked her eyes and was stunned, but then she realized she was kissed. Her mind was blank as it was her first kiss, and she didn't know what to do. Only Riser was a good teacher, and he was good at making girls feel good. Their kiss started with a chaste one, then slowly, it became lewd as they began to play with each other's tongues. Zenobia didn't expect that doing something lewd was so good, and she quickly abandoned her teaching before she fell into lust. She stuck out her tongue, locked it against his tongue, sucking each other's lips deeply, causing a lewd sound echoed inside the forest. Yet, knowing no one was beside them, they became even bolder. Zenobia, who had been hugging him tightly, felt something huge, hard, and hot pressed against her stomach. She felt quite curious and touched, caressed, and held it on her palm up and down, feeling that it wasn't enough. Her head was so hot, and there was one thing that she wanted to do. Can you take my virginity now? Riser. It's better for you to change the location and set up your tent first before you decide to take her virginity. Riser. Chapter 125, Fallen Exorcist. If it was before, he might hesitate, but now, why should he? Anyway, she was eager, so why should he hesitate? The only problem was that her first time would be done outdoors. Right on the tent where he just put a whim inside his space storage. While he felt strange, she was so excited and helped him to set up the tent as she wished for him to take her as soon as possible. Her actions might seem like a slut, but if he didn't eat her, then she wouldn't be at ease. The moment he took her virginity and confirmed their status as a lover, even if she didn't reincarnate as a devil and became part of his peerage members, she could be at ease since she knew that way she wouldn't be abandoned. While she knew that he wasn't that kind of a person, she still couldn't feel uncomfortable unless she gave herself to him. Can we kiss again? When the tent was set up, the two entered together. The size of the tent was quite huge, and even if they entered together, they didn't feel it was cramped. Moreover, with his wealth, how could he choose a cheap tent? Naturally, the tent was the best one with complete equipment. There was even a large bed inside, where they could lay as they enjoyed the beauty of nature. Nevertheless, there was no doubt that she was quite nervous, but when she thought about that kiss, it shouldn't be bad, right? Why are you so nervous now? Riser wanted to laugh somehow. Do not tease me. She blushed and felt a little annoyed, so she pushed him, kissing him like before. She was no longer a girl who didn't know anything, as he had taught her the pleasure of kissing. She stuck out her tongue, trying to invite him to play, exchanged their saliva, and smooched until her brain melted due to the pleasure. The more she did all of this, the hotter her body was. Yet, as she was an exorcist and spent more of her time fighting the malevolent being, her knowledge of that area was quite minimal. Except for kissing, she didn't know much, so when the kiss was enough, he pushed her. It's your first time. I will teach you. As for children? She could think about that matter later, but now, she felt that she needed to learn about S**X. However, due to zero knowledge and inexperience, she was going to leave everything to him. Yet, next time, she definitely wouldn't be passive as she wished to be in the active position, trying to give him pleasure instead of the other way around. Riser looked at Zenobia, who had changed her clothes. Unlike before, she was no longer in her battle exorcist gear. Frankly, her battle exorcist gear was rather lewd, and he wished for her to wear it. However, he knew that his wish was unreasonable as there was no way for her to wear her battle gear all the time. Still, she didn't look bad in her everyday clothing. She wore a simple t-shirt and tight hot pants, showing off her trained, well-toned thighs. Watching those thighs, he couldn't help but touch them, feeling the smooth and soft skin, making him wish to rub his face against them. Still, while Zenobia was embarrassed, she looked at him thoughtfully and smiled as she could tell he loved her thighs so much. However, the next one, she couldn't control her calm as he put down her pants, showing her white pants that clearly showed a wet stain due to love juice. He noticed her nervousness, so he kissed her lips while he touched her private place and caressed it gently, causing her body to shiver, trembling due to the strange sensation she felt for the first time. While she was unaccustomed at first, the pleasure of being caressed started to melt her shame, and she wanted to feel more. Riser also felt curious and took off her drenched panties, showcasing her beautiful pink streak with thin blue pubic hair. Why are you looking at it that way? Even if Zenobia had thick skin, she was still embarrassed when he kept watching her vagina without saying anything. It's nothing. Let me make you feel better. As he kissed her once again, he used his finger to touch her secretive place. Her body trembled and shook several times as if she was jolted by electricity. The sudden pleasure caused her body to shake, and she just couldn't stop it, only feeling her body wasn't hers anymore, and she couldn't control it. She was afraid, yet also full of excitement, letting him do whatever he wanted to do with her body, from sucking the nipple on her well-developed breasts, licking her neck, collarbones, and other dirty things that would cause her to be expelled from the church due to becoming a dirty woman and fall into depravity. Riser-sama. 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 Her tomboy-like attitude could no longer be seen. What could be seen on her face was just a woman who wished to be dominated by her mate. Still, as the pleasure was too much, she was also a little scared, so she wished him to kiss her all the time to ease her heart as if asking him to spoil her. He also didn't mind and thought that she was cute. As he fingered her, the two kept smooching each other's lips. After a long foreplay, he felt that it was enough, and it was time for him to make her into a woman. He took off his pants and showed his erection. Gulp! It was her first time seeing an erection, and she was surprised and a little nervous. Riser-sama, can something so big enter my body? He kissed her forehead and said gently, leave the rest to me. Believe me, okay? While she was nervous, she nodded. This is what she had always wanted. While having children might seem too early, practicing was necessary. It was like the case when she became an exorcist that she needed to practice with the holy sword to slay the malevolent being. This time, she needed her hole to defeat his holy sword. Her hole was small, but it was wet, drenched with her love juice as if anticipating him to enter. As he kissed her, he put his erection at her entrance, slowly pushing it forward as she let out an obscene voice. HMN. There was no trace of pain. Everything went smoothly. His preparation was perfect. The moment he took her virginity, what she felt was only a pleasure that came from having S*X with him for the first time. Yet, as expected, her pus*Y was tight. However, it felt nice as she trained her body, and when he thought of her origin, it excited him even more. The exorcist, who had faithfully followed the teaching of her religion, had been conquered by him and fallen for his cock. Grasping her waist, he moved his waist with a rhythm, causing her to grasp the sheet of the bed as she roared like a beast. Riser-sama. 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 Every time he pounded her, her plump buttocks swayed, wagging like a dog's tail that wished for her master to dominate her. The two were no longer controlled by their rationality and moved based on their instinct. She wasn't sure how many times she had C*M as she couldn't count it anymore, but when he was at his limit. C*M inside me. Make me pregnant, Riser-sama. She tightly wrapped her legs around his waist and forced him to C*M inside her. Get pregnant, Zenobia. He released all of his semen inside her without mercy, causing her to keep screaming like a wild beast as she hugged him tightly. Her uterus sucked its semen greedily as if it wished to be impregnated. Yet, this was far from enough. His erection hadn't subsided and was still as hard as ever. However, Zenobia was also far from being satisfied. After she tasted this, it was impossible for her to leave him. No, even if he pushed her away, she would stick to him. Riser Sama, kiss me. Kiss me. She stuck her tongue once again, waiting for his kiss. While Riser was speechless, he kissed her lips before having another lewd kiss, then having raw S*X over and over again before this exorcist had truly fallen. Chapter 126. No one can stop him. Either Zenobia or Riser didn't stop, and they kept having S*X for several hours. This forbidden knowledge made her unable to get away from him, and she wished to learn this knowledge from him. The school? Sona's peerage members? If possible, she wished to be with him all the time instead of doing all of that. Nevertheless, he was surprised by her stamina, but then again, as the holder of the Durandal and Excalibur destruction, it was natural for her stamina to be above the majority of people. Her stamina was probably even stronger than most of the devils, showing how exceptional she was as an individual. Yet, as expected, it was her first time, so soon, she slept on his chest from exhaustion. Frankly, her actions were quite reckless. She was like a level 1 character who decided to face the last boss right away. Besides an instant demise and meaningless struggle, she could only fall under his arms. Nevertheless, as the two were having love, Ravel, who was accompanied by Yubaluna and Maihi to set up a rating game for him, quickly became the center of everyone. Everyone had been waiting for his answer, so when they heard that he would have a rating game, they knew that he didn't intend to apologize and decided to charge forward without caring about Surzek. Frankly, everyone was helpless, and they wished for Ravel to talk to Riser to give up, asking him to apologize to Surzek, but she didn't heed their words and just set up a return match for Riser so everyone could see the power of her older brother. As for asking Riser, how could they be? They had seen how stubborn Riser was. In his video fight against Kokobile, Bali, Azazel, and Surzek, they could see that even if Riser died in his fight, he kept storming forward, radiating his blazing fire, ignoring all the consequences. If Riser was still as weak as before, they might keep cussing him, telling him to give up, but he was strong. Moreover, they could tell that this wasn't his limit. There might be a chance that Riser might be able to compete with Surzek in the future. Making him angry definitely wasn't an option. Even Surzek's clique didn't dare to be so harsh on Riser. They might be famous politicians, and some of them held important positions in the government, but Riser had the support of the richest family in the underworld and one of the 4 Mao, Seraphal Leviathan, along with the Citri house. Moreover, he was the son-in-law of the heir of the Citri clan and the direct descendants of the Phenex house. Having a conflict with him and being remembered as an enemy by him definitely wasn't an option. No one wished to have a full-blown conflict where it was impossible for them to recover their relationship to their previous one. So, in the end, they could only ask Seraphal, hoping she could do something as they knew she should be able to do something. As for Sona, no one asked her opinion, as in the eyes of those devils, she was still a little girl. However, Seraphal didn't say anything and just let him have a rating game without giving a single. While everyone was helpless, there was nothing that they could do. Yet, there was no doubt that his rating game wouldn't be so easy. This wouldn't be an easy game where he could show all the devils of his overwhelming, so no one could stop his promotion as the ultimate class devil. Instead, it would be a test. If he won, then no one could stop him. So what if he loses? There was no doubt that his name would be stained even further. Naturally, Surzek heard the news Riser wished to have a rating game, was heard by Surzek immediately. It was a rare chance for him to have his little revenge. It might be impossible for him to attack him again as he didn't want to have a conflict with Riser's support. Yet, he also felt helpless, thinking that Riser was too stubborn. If that's your wish, then I will play along. Nevertheless, Surzek smiled as he thought about how Riser's embarrassing and shameful appearance would be shown to the public. Using his contacts, he started his plan, and no one could stop it anymore. So-chan. Seraphol forcefully entered her little sister's room, breaking her door without hesitation. Sona wanted to say something, but she was too weak to say anything. After he told her not to follow him, Sona didn't go to school and stayed in the underworld all the time in case she received a call from Riser so she could meet him immediately. However, so many days had passed, yet she didn't receive a call from him, so she holed up in her room all the time. While she didn't understand at first, Seraphol told her why he was angry, and she also understood why he told her not to follow him. During that fight at the Ko Academy, she wished for him to tend his wounds as soon as possible and thought that it was the best course of action. There was no doubt that action hurt him as she didn't trust him. She was different from him. He could trust her unconditionally, believing that she could make the rating game school for the lower-class devil. Yet, she selfishly thought what was the best for him, thinking that it was the best for him, yet in his eyes, she probably had betrayed him. In that critical moment, she, who was his wife, like others, didn't believe him. She regretted it, but at the same time, she didn't know what to do, only as it was her first time to fall in love, yet she messed it up. Riser-chan had decided to fight, you know? Are you just going to hole up in your room? Seraphol asked. Fight. Seraphol nodded. He is going to have his rating game soon. There is no doubt that Surzuk-chan is going to mess up his match. Sona. So, what are you going to do? I am going. Sona had messed up before, but now, there was no way she was going to mess up again. Even if his opponent was Surzuk Lucifer, so what? Anyway, her husband dared to K*LL Surzuk before. Moreover, while she was helpless, there was nothing that she could do. Lastly, between Surzuk and her husband, it was obvious who she should choose, right? That's good. Seraphol was happy since Sona had returned, but what about her? What should she do? Rias heard that he was going to have his rating game soon. Then, let's meet him. Rias didn't hesitate. Are you serious? Aquino looked at Rias in a complicated mood. Frankly, she wished to meet him, but when she thought about his relationship with the older brother of her master, she hesitated since she knew she had become nothing but a burden for him. Moreover, she could see how much hatred he had toward the fallen angel, especially when they had troubled him so much. When Aquino thought about her identity, she couldn't help but loathe herself and wonder how fate loved to play a joke on her so much. I am. From that day on, Rias was unable to erase her thoughts about him. She knew that it was wrong, especially when he was the enemy of her older brother. Yet, for someone who dared to fight her older brother, even at the expense of his life, there was no doubt that there was no guy other than him that could enter her eyes. Even if the world wished for him to fall, bowing his head, and no one supported him, Riser decided to fight. There was no doubt that at this moment, he was at the lowest moment of his life, and when she came, becoming his support and his only light, she knew that he was going to fall. This time, it will be different. There was no way Sona could stop her. Rias was going to make him fall for her. Yet, strangely enough, Aquino hoped for Rias to be successful. If her master could seduce Riser, then would there be a need for them to hide their relationship? As for his conflict with Surzuk, they didn't care, as love made them blind. They only wanted to be with him. Moreover, as Surzuk had become a Lucifer, he was no longer a devil from the Gremory, at least in public. It was also the reason why he could no longer become the heir of the Gremory house, changing his father to the Lord of Gremory and leaving the heir position to Rias while changing his name from Gremory to Lucifer. For the first time, a master and a servant had the same thought as they wished to meet him. Yet Aquino was also worried, wondering whether her existence would become anything but a burden for him. Nevertheless, his return match was naturally heard by everyone, and no one was going to miss it, especially when the name of his opponent was announced. Yet, Riser was still oblivious to all the commotion caused by him. Instead, he wondered why Zenobia could give him such rich rewards. Chapter 127. Let's collect 12 chosen heavenly breasts. Congratulations, you have received 3 random rewards. Really? Yes. Why? Riser felt the rewards were quite luxurious, especially when he got 3 rewards directly. Even when he fought Kokobeel, Thali, Azazel, and Surzek, he could only get 1 reward. In the case of Sona, since she was his wife, he didn't feel surprised. Aquino was the same since her identity was quite unique. However, Zenobia? Meanwhile, why, when he did it with Magari, his peerage members, or Ika Kiryu, were his rewards only SOSO? Was there something special about Zenobia? If I have to say, it is because she is one of the members of 12 chosen heavenly breasts. What? She is one of the members of 12 chosen heavenly breasts. Seriously? Seriously. What the heck was 12 chosen heavenly breasts? As you know, the power of the protagonist in this world relates to the breasts. The more eki things he does with breasts, the stronger he is. It is like how you become stronger as you are beaten. The 12 chosen heavenly breasts are 12 heroines who have extraordinary breasts in this world. For your information, Ravel, Zenobia, and Aquino are included in the list. Riser didn't know why. He felt slightly jealous of Issei. When he needed to be beaten up to become stronger, Issei could become stronger by just touching, rubbing, and sucking the bubs of the heroines. Yet, the protagonist had always been like this. The protagonist's strength development was definitely faster than the other characters. Even if the method was strange, it didn't matter. Nevertheless, he realized something. Did it mean that he had stolen the heroines from the protagonist? No. Did it mean that as long as he stole the heroines from the protagonist, the system would grant him good rewards? You caught fast. Riser rubbed his blonde hair and thought that the genre of this novel was quite wrong. Nevertheless, he realized that Zenobia seemed to be one of the main heroines, even if she didn't seem like one. Still, he observed Zenobia's breasts to see whether there was something special about them. They seemed to be soft and bouncy, yet at the same time, they were firm. Zenobia's breasts might not be as big as Aquino's, but she was much bigger than Sona's. Nevertheless, as he touched Zenobia's breasts, he could see her pink nipples became stiff, and she moaned during her sleep, showing how sensitive they were. Yet, even if Zenobia's breasts were wonderful, the breasts of his peerage members were also excellent. He couldn't understand how their breasts differed and why Zenobia was chosen among 12 chosen heavenly breasts. Frankly, even though he had some memories of the story of this world, it wasn't complete as he hadn't read the story until the end and how it even ended. Or rather, was it even finished? Moreover, there was a huge difference between reality and the story, as he knew that his appearance had caused a butterfly effect where it was impossible to predict what would happen in the future. Nevertheless, he knew that he might have underestimated Zenobia. She might only be the holder of Durandal and Excalibur destruction, but as she was a heroine who stayed by the side of the original protagonist, she should have a hidden power that made her stronger. However, she was with him now, and even if she didn't have a hidden power, it didn't matter as he would take care of her. Moreover, even if he felt a little jealous of Issei's method of power-up, relying on his women wasn't something that he loved to do. Still, let's forget about the 12 chosen heavenly breasts since it definitely had nothing to do with him. Anyway, as he rubbed and observed Zenobia's perky and taut breasts, he opened his rewards. Then, congratulations, you have received Bodybuilding Mastery, Driving Mastery, and Orichalcos. He fell in silence for a moment and read the descriptions of his rewards. His first reward was Bodybuilding Mastery, which gave him talent and mastered all the knowledge of bodybuilding and weightlifting, allowing him to effectively develop his and others' muscles and strength through exercise and specialized dieting. This reward also gave him knowledge regarding medicine, especially everything that related to muscles. Still, he sighed as it drove him further away from the wizard type of fighter. No, he couldn't give up yet. Still, what about his second reward? Driving Mastery. In simple terms, it gave him the ability to drive anything that he thought of as a vehicle. Even if he got a UFO or an unidentified vehicle, he should be able to drive it. Moreover, even if he was unfamiliar with the vehicles, with this Driving Mastery, he would be able to drive them better than those of the best racers in the world. Nevertheless, when he read the description of his last reward, he felt strange and confused. Orichalcos. Riser thought that it was a metal mentioned in several ancient writings, including the story of Atlantis in the Critias of Plato. However, that didn't seem to be the case. Instead, it was the name of a weapon or something called a device. While he felt confused, it seemed that he had become a blazer, a special breed of humans born with magic. In a certain work, this type of special breed of human gained the ability to manifest a weapon from their soul, and this weapon was called a device. This orichalcos was the name of the device of a certain character in a certain work. Aside from the power of the orichalcos, it seemed that a new trait had entered his body. It was like how a human or other species gained the trait of the devil after they were reincarnated with evil pieces. While his race remained a pure-blooded devil, he gained a new trait within his body, which allowed him to manifest a weapon known as device. Yet, this also made him wonder whether his future children would also manifest the same trait. However, when he read the description of the ability of orichalcos, he felt that it wasn't bad for his children to inherit this trait. After all, they gained a new power, which made them stronger, so it was all good, right? Still, the ability of orichalcos made him speechless. Orichalcos' first ability was to manifest itself in the form of a full set of black armor and a black halberd that he could use as a weapon. Then, what about its second ability? The second ability was infinite regeneration. This was the main ability of the orichalcos, which healed injuries no matter how severe quickly as long as the wearer had the armor on. He could also lend this armor to others and heal them. Frankly, with those abilities alone, this reward was impressive enough. But then, the third ability of orichalcos was even more amazing. Regeneration overdose. This ability allowed him to get stronger and faster the more damage he received. Moreover, the ACC** mulation of strength he received was permanent. In other words, the more he bled, the stronger and faster he was. He sighed and thought that he really couldn't escape from his fate to become a close combat fighter. After all, unlike Crisis, which wasn't permanent, the improvement of orichalcos was permanent. The more he bled, wounded, and almost died, the stronger he was. But then, was Crisis worse? No. Unlike orichalcos, Crisis also increased his demonic energy and stamina when he received damage, so even if the ACC** mulation of improvement of the Crisis wasn't permanent, it made him able to fight as long as he could even if he was full of injuries. Nevertheless, the new ability he received from orichalcos aside, a new trait inside his body also gave him a certain possibility to become even stronger. However, do you want to do it again, Riser-sama? Zenobia looked at Riser with a lewd smile. Riser. There was no longer shyness on her face. Only lust, eagerness, and happiness. Riser realized that each heroine had a different personality, and he didn't hate Zenobia's straightforward character at all. When Riser and Zenobia returned, he carried her on his back as they returned to his villa. She was sleeping on his shoulder due to exhaustion from their previous duel. At the same time, Ravel, Eubola, and Maihi also returned to the villa, but he could see their expression was far from good. What's wrong? Oni-sama, it's as you have expected. Ravel's expression was heavy. Our opponent is the rank 6 of the rating game, one of the 5 Dragon Kings, Tannen. Riser sighed and thought Surzek loved to do a useless struggle. Chapter 128, Riser the Alchemist. Tannen. It is a creature that appears in the Hebrew Bible's Book of Genesis. Yet, in this world, he is called the Blaze Meteor Dragon. He was also one of the 5 Dragon Kings, but was reincarnated by Mephistopheles, becoming a devil. While it might be strange, considering how selfish, stubborn, and prideful a creature known as a dragon was, Tannen had 2 reasons to become a devil. The first was to participate in the raiding games. The second was for the dragon apples, a fruit that now exists only in the underworld, which a certain race of dragons needs to eat in order to survive. After all, Tannen was quite different from the other Dragon Kings, as he was cornered about the other dragons and the continuation of their races. Nevertheless, as a Dragon King, his power was undoubted as he became one of the top 10 on the rating game and became an ultimate class devil, where he gained the right to receive his own territory and chose the area where the dragon apples grew. There was no doubt that Tannen was a respectable and mighty dragon. Yet, such a legendary dragon was going to become Riser's opponent in the rating game, so whether Tannen's story would move someone or not, Riser didn't care as he thought of Tannen as nothing but just a stepping stone for him to achieve his ambition. Nevertheless, no matter how amazing the Dragon King was, in the end, Tannen became nothing but Surzeka's lackey. Even the two heavenly dragons, two powerful dragons whose might could *LL even Satan's and gods, became nothing but a sacred gear, a tool used by humans. In the end, a dragon was nothing but an animal. A dragon is nothing but just another beast. Facing an intelligent creature, they could only either bow down or adapt to become an intelligent creature. A strong power was necessary, but having a good brain was even more important so people wouldn't use them. Once again, the most common example was Issei. After all, Issei didn't have a brain. The only thing he had was just guts and power, so he was being used by many without him noticing it. Even more, he was happy to help them and would help them with all of his might, even if it cost him his life. Yet Valley Lucifer was even worse as his pride got the better of him and almost cost him his life. If Vala didn't have anyone who wished to protect him, Riser was sure that he could *LL Valley that day. Nevertheless, Riser felt that he was similar. After all, as long as he apologized, he could gain promotion into the class that the majority of the devil could only dream of in their lives. Yet, he chose the most troublesome way to get his promotion. Moreover, his method also troubled everyone in his surroundings and destroyed his plan to have a rating game match next year. Due to his pride, he caused many troubles, whether it was toward him or his surroundings. Yet, at the same time, he didn't think his method was wrong. Instead, since he had chosen to become aggressive, he couldn't change his method and needed to become aggressive all the way so the enemies that he had made wouldn't dare to attack him. Riser needed to make himself like a hedgehog. Still, before the match was about to start, he needed to attend the press conference. It might be weird for him to suddenly mention a press conference, but a rating game was also a form of entertainment. Moreover, whether it was him or Tannen, they were all famous figures. Tannen aside, as he was in the top 10 within the rating game and had many fans, Riser's popularity wasn't lost. Riser might not enter the rating game as much as Tannen as he only had participated 10 times. Moreover, in those 10 matches, he didn't have a perfect victory as he lost 2 matches due to the connection of his family with the noble's family. It was also probably due to this that everyone in his family was confused. When he could give up 2 victories for 2 nobles' families that had a connection with his house, he didn't want to apologize to Surzek so he could get a promotion to become an ultimate class devil. While they were confused, there was nothing they could do as he was different from what he was previously. Still, with his popularity, it was impossible for him to lose a deliberate loss anymore, especially after he had defeated Kokobil, Vali, and Azazel. Frankly, it wouldn't be weird if either Vala or Azazel targeted those 2 nobles' houses that had won against him on the rating game and destroyed them so they could clear up their reputation. As for Kokobil, that guy had already passed away, so it didn't matter. Still, for those whom he had defeated, he had never thought of them as his opponents. Moreover, instead of worrying about those matters, he needed to handle the press conference. The press conference between his match and Tannen will be held at the most luxurious hotel within the Phenex domain. However, this press conference was handled by his family, so he didn't need to do anything. After all, it was also a chance for them to advertise the Phenex domain, so no one within his family dared to let go of this chance. Even if they thought that he might lose, the traffic they received from this match alone was worth it. Frankly, by now, they wondered whether this return to rating game was his scheme to promote the Phenex domain. Nevertheless, no one let go of this chance, and whether it was his first or second older brothers, they made the entire underworld focus on his match and Tannen. Due to the surge in economic gains of the Phenex domain, Citri House also quickly changed its attitude and hoped Riser would hold his match in their domain. It might be impossible now, but in his next match, it was possible, right? Still, everyone was speechless by Riser's conduct, but they could only bite their thumb, hoping that they could receive some soups from the Phenex House. Nevertheless, whether it was the Phenex House, the Citri House, or everyone who was involved with those two houses worked together to advertise this match. It wouldn't be weird to say that Riser and Tannin became the talk of all the residents of the underworld. Moreover, they also prepared an eye-catching catchphrase. Phoenix versus Dragon. Those words were enough to make all the residents of the darkness filled with excitement about this match. Arigato, Surzek-sama. Some of them thought as they copied Surzeka's catchphrase without shame. Nevertheless, Riser knew that no one expected that he would win. Even though he had defeated Kokobeel, Valley, and Azazel, and all of them had seen how he had won against them, compared to Tannin, they felt that all of them were weaker, including him, who had defeated them. Yet, when one had to compare a creature 15 meters in height and Riser, whose height was just above average, the answer was obvious, right? Everyone felt that Riser would lose. Nevertheless, the hype of the match was unstoppable, and everyone wanted to see the might of Riser, who had defeated Kokobeel, Valley, and Azazel against Tannin, the Dragon King. Yet, with all of the talk within Underworld, Riser ignored all of that and showed a new business that he had prepared in front of his parents. What is this? Lord Phenex and Lady Phenex looked at the thing that was shown by their son. Energy drink. What? 2x. Energy drink. When everyone talked about his match with Tannin, Riser calmly planned to enter an energy drink business. Chapter 129. Burst Energy Drink. Amidst all the turbulence and chaos Riser had caused, he planned to do another business calmly. At this moment, Riser, Ravel, and his peerage members were inside one of the waiting rooms while facing his parents. As he needed to participate in the press conference, it was impossible for him to dodge and ignore them anymore. Yet, he didn't need to do so, especially when his decision was firm. However, he was too lazy to hear their scolding, so he decided to make a business to avert their attention. As expected, his mother and father were in silence as they looked at the new business that their son had made. Energy drink, you say? When all of them were confused about how to handle Riser's relationship with Surzek, Riser made a new business boldly. Lady Phenex took a can of energy drink, which was presented on the table. Burst? What do you think? With our house reputation due to the Phenex tears and the hype of my match, I am sure that this energy drink will become popular. Riser talked excitedly. His demeanor, way of talking, tone, and everything were perfect. Whether it was Lady Phenex or Lord Phenex, the two of them quickly became interested in this energy drink business. Frankly, it wasn't uncommon to see someone use a rating game to promote a business. Even the Emperor, Belial Diehauser, had received many endorsements and sponsors from various businesses in the underworld. Moreover, he also used his popularity to promote his purse-stricken domain. Nevertheless, when one had a certain talent, they would lose something. Belial might be a powerful devil and also the champion of the rating game, but he lacked business AC** men as he was unable to utilize his popularity to the limit. It was the same case as his parents, so even if he was popular, his method to utilize his popularity was limited. It was also the same case with the others as they were unable to fully operate their popularity. However, Riser wasn't surprised. Belial was like a guide, the star, and everything, so everyone subconsciously followed him like an obedient herd. Some of them might have an idea of how to improve or utilize their popularity better, but in the end, a devil was like this. While they were amazing creatures, they were also lazy as they had a long life. Their will to improve was quite limited, and as long as they had enough, they were satisfied. If Riser hadn't been a human before, he would have done the same and was too lazy to improve. Moreover, was there even a need for him to improve? After all, he had the Phenex tears. As long as he shed his tears, he could get easy money. However, since he wasn't educated as a devil, he had a will to improve. He didn't want to be satisfied with the status quo, especially when he had many enemies. When his enemies were working hard and ready to get their revenge on him, he needed to work even harder so they would realize he was already far ahead of them and it was impossible for them to chase after him. Moreover, he also knew the power of an individual was limited. Riser might have an amazing power that matches the original Lucifer, but that wasn't enough. If he had the ability to manipulate the mind, then he didn't need to be this troublesome, but he didn't have it, so he needed to make the public into his allies. But then, how? It was to make them work for him. By making them work under his company, it would make them fall under his camp. Moreover, the more devils under his company, the more voices he could get to manipulate the votes for the politicians. By then, not only his power, military, but he also controlled the economics and politics of the underworld. However, there was no need for him to explain that as they might be scared by his explanation, yet somehow, Ravel could notice that, and it was also due to this that her eyes were blazing in excitement, and she was so excited when they were together, which made him little helpless. Lord Phenex and Lady Phenex opened the cans of the Burst, a new energy drink made by their son, sniffed the citrus-like scent, and sampled it slowly. It tastes good. Lord Phenex was surprised and finished the drink in one go. Wow, I feel energized too. Lady Phenex was surprised. Did you put your tears here? If I put on my tears, do you think those commoners can buy it? Riser rolled his eyes at his mother's naive question. Still, he never thought that his beverage-making mastery would be this useful as he could create a healthy yet tasty version of an energy drink. After all, unlike the energy drinks in the human world that were filled with sugar and damaged the kidneys, his energy drink didn't have such a problem. Burst. Riser was confident that he was going to make groundbreaking innovation and business. Nevertheless, there were still many things that his beverage-making mastery could do, but he needed to focus on his energy drink first. Due to this, whether he or his parents talked about the development of this energy drink or would use this match as a platform to introduce this new energy drink to all the people in the underworld. As for Ravel and the others, they were speechless, but they didn't say anything since the more money Riser had, the better it was, right? Only. By the way, did you bring a human to the underworld? Lord Phenex noticed Zenobia. Yes, she is a former exorcist and the holder of the holy sword Durandal and Excalibur Destruction. Hearing his introduction, Lord Phenex and Lady Phenex were surprised and also happy that he could find someone so talented, but they also wondered how Riser could seduce Zenobia to be with him. Yet, it didn't matter as they could see that Zenobia was his woman, and the stronger she was, the better. Zenobia, introduce yourselves. Hello, Lord Phenex. Lady Phenex. My name is Zenobia Corda. Zenobia was a bit nervous since she didn't expect to meet his parents so suddenly. You don't need to be nervous. Yes, as you are now, you are already part of our family. Family, Zenobia murmured, but she smiled brightly as she heard those words. After all, who would feel happy with the acknowledgement of Riser's parents? By the way, your peerage members are full, right? Lady Phenex suddenly said. How are you going to reincarnate her into a devil? Or do you want me to reincarnate her into a devil? Riser looked at his mother in surprise. Why were you surprised? I thought that was your intention. Lady Phenex was speechless. She thought Riser brought Zenobia with him because he wanted her to reincarnate Zenobia as a devil. While it might seem strange, Lady Phenex didn't have anyone on her peerage members. Yet, this also wasn't surprising, as evil pieces was a new technology introduced by Ajuka Beelzebub. The evil pieces were created by Ajuka Beelzebub sometime during the 16th century to help replenish the number of devils after the Great War, which had caused the death of countless devils. While many devils were able to adapt to the evil pieces, many also disdained and rejected the usage of the evil pieces, believing them to be a disgrace to devils for reincarnating humans and other races into devils. While his mother might not be as extreme as those many, especially the old Satan faction, she didn't have any intention to use it either as she didn't need them. Those who used them were either bored or wished to join the raiding game, after all. However, his mother didn't have an interest in those things. Frankly, Ravel should be able to get the evil pieces, considering she was born as a high-class devil, but why she didn't even receive one was still a mystery. Nevertheless, with his mother's evil pieces, it was possible for Zenobia to be reincarnated as a devil. However, Riser looked at Zenobia, to which she nodded. I want to become a devil now, Riser-sama. Unlike Riser, who hesitated since he wished Zenobia to be part of Sona's peerage, Zenobia didn't hesitate and wished to become a devil as soon as possible. After all, she would be lying if she didn't feel uncomfortable to stay as a human all the time when she stayed with him. Even though they have confirmed their relationship, if she became a devil, then wouldn't their relationship become closer? So the moment she heard she could become a devil by using Riser's mother's evil piece, she didn't hesitate. Okay. Lady Phenex also didn't hesitate and then asked, which piece do you want to be reincarnated? Each piece of the evil pieces had different features and brought a different benefit. Among them, the one that was the most suitable for Zenobia was, can you use a night piece, mother? Sure. Lady Phenex took out her night piece and then looked at Zenobia. Are you ready, Zenobia? Yes. Zenobia nodded without hesitation, feeling excited as she was about to become a devil. Then, at that moment, Lady Phenex used her night piece on Zenobia, reincarnating her into a devil. Riser also looked at this process curiously, as it was his first time seeing one. A circle with a phoenix crest appeared below Zenobia as a dark light enveloped her. At that moment, Zenobia felt her body was brimming with energy and felt that she had become stronger and faster. The devil wings emerged from her back. By this moment, Zenobia knew she had become a reincarnated devil. Chapter 130. We are gentle and kind. Watching Zenobia, who became a devil, Riser sighed and felt that compared to Surzek, Ajuka Beelzebub was more dangerous. The might of Surzek was incredible, but Ajuka's brain was on a different level. After all, while the other races had a hard time trying to figure out how to solve the demise of their races, Ajuka had created a solution for their problem. Moreover, these evil pieces also had many functions and increased the power of those who were reincarnated as devils. How do you feel? Riser asked. I feel stronger and more comfortable now. Zenobia felt the air of the underworld suddenly felt much better. Still, more importantly, she had made a connection with him, and there was no need to fear that she was going to be abandoned again. You seem happy? While he planned to make Zenobia into Sona's peerage members, if she was satisfied with this, then he wasn't going to say anything. Moreover, it was impossible to trade the peerage members with other devils, so everything was okay. I am happy. That's good. He shook his head, but then his mother interrupted him. Well, this matter aside, have you made up with Sona? When this matter was mentioned, his father was also looking at him, but he wasn't going to say anything since he wasn't good at talking about this matter to his son. Not yet. What could he say? Riser could only be truthful. Then, make up with her. She is here, you know? She came to visit you, and her condition is quite pitiful. Lady Phenex sighed when she thought about her daughter-in-law. While she wasn't sure why they seemed to be in an argument, she felt sorry for her daughter-in-law, especially when she saw her current situation. Did something happen to Sona? Even though they were in an argument, she was still his wife after all. You might as well visit her now. Lady Phenex couldn't finish her words since Ravel cut her out. But, Okasama, Oni-sama is going to have his press soon, and he is going to face one of the legendary dragons, Tannen. Oni-sama needs to focus on his match, especially when we know what kind of difficulties that he is going to face now. His daughter's words made Lady Phenex hesitate, but then Ravel suddenly said, Oni-sama, it's time for the press. We have to be prepared. Okay. Hesitating, he decided not to meet Sona since he knew he needed to focus on his raiding game. While he was worried about his wife due to his mother's words, her family had monopolized healthcare in the underworld. She was the heir of Citri House and also the little sister of Seraphol Leviathan. What kind of bad thing could happen to her? Nevertheless, he could feel the strangeness of Ravel, but he knew this wasn't a time for him to think about this matter. Yet Ravel, who saw her older brother agree, smiled. After all, there was no way she would easily give her older brother to Sona. They had just confirmed their relationship, and she wished that she was his number one. If Sona returned, then how could Ravel become number one? There was no way that she would allow that. She was going to make Riser crazy for her, and she wasn't going to give him to anyone, including his wife. As Ravel's reminder, everyone walked out as all of his peerage members needed to be present at the press conference. While it might not be necessary, Zenobia also followed since she was curious. As for his parents, they stayed since they weren't in a hurry. Frankly, this press conference was as good as his. Riser utilized all his family's connections and power to the fullest. After all, his family owned the biggest media company, and his older brother was the CEO of this company. Moreover, they held a press conference within his family's domain. Meanwhile, Tannen came to his domain without any support. Surzek might have been able to manipulate the opponent of the rating game that Riser would face in Riser's return match, but that didn't mean he could control everything. While Surzek controlled his opponent, Riser controlled the venue and the media. Moreover, he also used this chance to benefit himself, his family, and many others who were related. With all of those preparations, Riser knew that nothing could stop him anymore, and he brought all of them into his ship even if they didn't want to. After all, they were devils. In front of their desires, profit, they were honest. Even if they knew the consequences that they might receive from Surzek by siding with him, as long as they apologized, they should be okay, right? Still, as he was about to visit the place where the press conference was held, he happened to meet Tannen and his peerage members. Along with his peerage members, the mere presence of Tannen dominated this place. Even if there were only 11 of them and they were surrounded by Riser's people, they seemed like they were the owners of this place. Their size, pride, and aura put many people in awe and fear. Frankly, Tannen and the others could appear in their human form, but they didn't do that and just walked in their dragon form proudly. As expected of a dragon, Riser thought. Riser knew that a dragon was a personification of pride, and he could see that even if they had become a reincarnated devil, their pride as the strongest race had never disappeared. Frankly, if it were others, they would be in awe, but him? Riser somehow wanted to trample their pride to pieces. Naturally, they also happened to see Riser and his group. The two stopped and stared at each other as if they were curious about each other. While it was Riser's first time seeing a dragon, Tannen was also curious about the young devil who dared to cause trouble to Surzek Lucifer. Still, a beast had always been a beast. Even though they tried to appear like they were educated, in their essence, they were just another animal. Oi, are you that brat who is going to fight, father? He doesn't seem strong. Did he really defeat Kokobil, White Dragon Emperor, and Azazel? It is a lie, right? Our Majesty doesn't need to do anything to defeat this guy. We're all good enough to defeat him. While Tannen didn't say anything, his peerage members started to talk as they looked down on Riser. Yet how could they not be? In their eyes, Riser was just a nouveau richer and a young master who spent his days with his harem all the time. Facing such a young man, they felt that it was an insult to Tannen, their king. While Riser's peerage members were angry, Zenobia was about to take out her Durandal to slay them, especially when they could see the disdain and disgust from Tannen's peerage members. Meanwhile, Riser only yawned, feeling bored. Let's go. He didn't bother talking with them as he felt they were too boring. If he released his power, then they would bow down. Still, as he was going to beat and domesticate them, he didn't mind letting them be proud for a while. Are you Riser Phenex? Tannen, who had been silent, suddenly asked. Riser stopped and then looked at Tannen. You are Tannen? That's right. Tannen nodded, then apologized. I have to say sorry to you. Why should you apologize? Riser frowned. I have heard that this is your return match, but you will have to face me, so I thought I should apologize to you. Tannen's words were filled with kindness and gentleness, but also helplessness. While he knew the circumstances since Surzek had asked him, he couldn't reject Surzeka's request, so he could only agree to fight Riser on this rating game. Yet, for Riser, who heard it, he felt how Tannen belittled him. After all, even if Tannen might appear gentle and kind, Riser could smell Tannen's confidence and pride even if he was in the next city. There was no doubt that, like the others, Tannen didn't think that he could win. Moreover, Tannen thought that Riser's victory over Kokobil, Valley, and Azazel was nothing but a fluke. However, Riser didn't get angry. Instead, he also smiled and apologized with a gentle and kind tone. Oh, then I have to apologize too. Oh, why did you apologize? Tannen was confused. Since in this match, I will definitely make the dragon become the loser in this match. Everyone,